Hello, everybody. It's me, Junior, your Lich. We're back with the Mite No podcast. Jesus, episode 11? We've only
Is it?
uploaded to episode 4 or 5 at this point. We're getting ahead of ourselves. With me today is the ever great Ruty.
Sorry, I was yawning. Hi.
That is the classic and high quality content you'll get at the Mite No podcast. No Noriko this week because they have a bad headache and we all wish Noriko well. But we also didn't record last week and I fucking want to watch One Piece, so we're gonna record so I can watch the next
Hey,
5 episodes. God
it's
damn it.
it's alright. It's alright. Don't worry. This quality content you will not only get on the Meeting Meeting No podcast, you'll get it elsewhere if you search for it.
No, only get it here. Or only through things
What?
that we specifically suggest.
Wait, what? We can't promote. We can't do self promotion.
I mean, self promotion is fine. If you're
Oh, I was
saying
gonna.
if you're saying nay, don't get out of the Mite no podcast. Go to like
Oh no. I was saying, hey. If you want to see more quality yawning content, come over to me Twitch.
there you go.
So twitch.tv/Rudy that.
And if you want to watch
I put something on the
pre-recorded
screen to display that.
a stupid let's play of Skyrim where I'm going from 0 achievements to 100% on my channel, you fucking can. But guess what? It's probably terrible because I really don't have any way to easily record. But we're not here to talk about Skyrim as much as Tom would like that. We're here today to talk One Piece episode 51. This is the second worst of the filler arc on Rogue Town. Um,
You said second worst. Did you say second worst?
yeah,
What do you mean? It was cool. I liked
I hate.
Captain Smoke. Captain Smoke has a smoke bike. Come on.
No, that's not in this episode. This is the filler episode.
Oh, I'm going ahead
This
of
is this is the
myself.
Sanji filler episode. Yes, Listen, Smoker's stupid fucking smoke bike is fantastic. All these fucking devil fruit users who just develop like a vehicle. Listen, we will see several people, including Buggy's little buggy mobile that he turns into.
Oh god,
Like they're all dumb.
buggies.
Oda just has a pipe dream for giving people with superpowers a unique vehicle that uses their superpowers. But
Buggy. That was funny.
that's like 2 episodes from now. Like you gotta reel her in
Yeah,
there. Jeez. Episode 51 is the Sanji filler arc. And
yeah.
it's
Sanji versus Carmen. It wasn't too bad.
yeah,
It was
it's
okay.
it's pretty shit. I don't like this filler. But there are some interesting moments. And basically the whole gist of it is Sanji meets a beautiful woman. She keeps trying to challenge him to a cook-off, but all Sanji sees is a beautiful woman, which is great. I did write down that exactly 5 minutes and 58 seconds in, that we see the craftsman. Rudy, if you go back and check that out, that is a character who we will see about 1,000 episodes later from now. Uh,
Who? Which one? Who won now?
on 558.
Craftsman.
Yeah, it's something that Oda kind of did that got caught out by the fans. He reused this character model in Wano, which is the current saga of One Piece. Um, about again 900 to 1,000 chapters later. And
Oh yeah,
Oda's like,
Wano.
"Yep."
That'd be interesting when we get there.
Oda was just like, "Yep, it's the same guy. Fucking, I really like his design. Listen, I've used him all over One Piece. Get over it." And it's like, okay. Um, but I just noticed him at 558, which is super good. Um, Sanji doesn't notice Buggy, which is great, but that also makes sense. Um, because Buggy and Sanji didn't interact. Like Sanji does, like he knows about the story with Buggy, but he's never seen Buggy, and they didn't interact directly. Um, Buggy keeps doing some more stupid shit. However, we do know that Buggy is aware that Smoker exists. And Buggy, the reason Buggy's been laying low with the cloaks and everything isn't because he's not trying to let Luffy know he's there. It's so Smoker doesn't know he's there. And that's great because Buggy knows that Smoker is fucking tough. And I love that. Um, Sanji goes down to the fish market. They find an elephant blue tuna or whatever the fuck it is, and he gets this moment of
I think I got it. Elephant bluefin tuna. Yeah, I got it.
yeah, that's what I wrote. Elephant bluefin tuna, and I just wrote this fucking fish. Um, and again, we once again get a moment where Sanji thinks about the all blue. Guess what? Those moments fucking go away. Like once he's in the Grand Line, like we almost never hear him think about the all blue once the
Yeah,
story continues. It just becomes he becomes just Zoro's rival and
because
horny, and that's it. And it's kind of shitty.
it's because the Grand Line is basically the all blue.
Well, no, the Grand Line isn't, but the nexus between the Grand Line, the entrance to the Grand Line, is a point where all four oceans, all six oceans, I guess, meet, and that is the all blue, which like I'm not going to
Which
spoil anything because this is just a fan theory. It's heavily implied, or at least the current fan theory is that by the end of the series, um Luffy is going to do something to blow up the continent that surrounds the planet, or at least destroy it in one spot, and create the all blue, a point where all the oceans are finally able to freely interconnect. That is the current fan theory. It's kind
I
of
thought One
implied in the
Piece
story,
ended.
but we don't know for
I
sure.
thought I saw like One Piece ended a while ago, but then they extended it.
No, no, it's never ended.
Maybe that was a different show. I have no idea.
It's definitely not One Piece. It's never been ended. It the Oda said it would be 5 more years about 7 years ago. Listen, I'm still not convinced this series will ever end. I think it will because Oda will die at some point, but I'm honestly not convinced. Um,
Well,
so
that's more, but
I mean, the man works really hard, and he's been doing this for almost 30 years. Like, this is a hard job. He shits out one
I
of
mean,
these chapters almost
love
every week.
you gotta really love your characters and also like really like think of a whole bunch of stories to tie
Well,
together
see, that's the thing. He
to
can't. He has
make it
so
happen.
much in his head that he can't get any of it out. He keeps complaining that he has all these characters and they have these huge stories, and he just never has time to write them or they get cut to move the story along and keep pacing. And One Piece already has pacing issues, and he wants to add more side shit into it. Listen, let the man love his shit. We stan Oda in this house. Um, so Sanji wants to buy the fish because it gets his little fish boner going. Um, however, the man says sorry. It's been bought by the town, I guess, to be used as a pride in their cook-off. So Sanji's like, all right, I guess I'll go win that because I want the fish now. And this is the thing that the woman was in, and she wanted to battle the Sanji. Um, so Sanji goes there, and we get. I wish Noriko was here for this episode because like two things relating to like way future events of the story happen, and you don't know about them. Um, but fun.
Is Carmen gonna reappear again?
No, never, literally ever.
What?
This
When
character
she
sucks
battles
and doesn't
Sanji.
exist. Like she is
She
100%
said
nothing.
she battles Sanji another time, but she never reappears. That's
No, she's nothing. She's just filler.
wow.
She's even more
Wow.
filler. She's even more filler than Daddy Masterson, who at least Oda
Is
said
she
that he
even more
likes
filler?
and wishes was canon.
Is
I
she
mean,
even more filler than
Apis? Oh yeah,
the little
definitely.
bush-head guy with the talking animals?
Oh yeah, he's not filler. He's canon.
Oh Jesus.
That actually happens in the manga. They go to that island.
Oh. Oh no.
Yeah, and Bucky does too, in the manga. Like we see Bucky go to that island.
Mini Bucky.
He's technically like an honorary Straw Hat. People have made entire what if stories of like what if he joined the crew when Luffy offered. People have made
Yeah,
stories for all the
what was the
characters Luffy have offered, and that has been a lot of people. Um,
what was the like was it Seven Warlords or whatever? Is that what it
yes,
was?
the
That
Seven
Hawkeye,
Warlords of the Sea. What about him?
yeah, I could have sworn I heard somewhere Buggy was going to be part of those eventually.
Yeah. I mean, technically, he's past that now.
Well, Buggy is based.
Well, you'll find more about Buggy at around the 400 mark, when he comes back into the story after this arc. Around episode 400 or so. No, yeah, it might be closer to
It's too long
500.
to wait.
He comes back. We'll deal with him then. I actually really like Buggy in that arc. Um. Oh, you disconnected. You're just a picture of me now. Hello? Oh no. I can pause the recording through the power of OBS.
Anyway,
And it's like
Buggy is cool.
nothing happened. As I was saying, Buggy, we will learn a lot about Buggy later. He's great.
It's too long to wait for Buggy to come back. He needs to come back earlier than episode
No,
400.
it's trust me, we gotta take Buggy in small doses, especially with how he becomes later. I'm totally fine with Buggy only popping up for like 1 or 2 chapters. And when he comes back later, it's in a big way. Like he'll be with Luffy for like 30 episodes or something. It's a
You
huge
know
thing.
he'd always do it. You know he'd always do it in a big way, as he'd say he'd
He
do it
does it in a
flashily.
flashily, yeah. So
Yeah.
there to get back on track, Nami is suddenly here, even though she's everywhere in this fucking filler arc. She's just wherever they need her to be. So is Usopp. Usopp does something in this filler that kind of spoils something way later in the series, like around episode 800 or 900. Um, when Usopp calls out to Sanji to try and talk to him while Sanji's in the competition, and I remember that this happened, but I didn't remember that it happened in this filler. I had like vague memory that Usopp did this, and it blew my mind later, like literally 15 years later or 20 years later when we got there. But when he calls Sanji, he does it in like a cutesy way where he counts to Sanji's name because in Japanese, counting to three is ich, ni, san. So he says ichiji, niji, sanji, and he calls out to him. At like exactly 14:30 into the episode, roughly. Um, and those are the name of two of Sanji's siblings, and Usopp just spoiled them like
Wait,
eight
what? No, you
800
spoiled that for
episodes.
me.
Yeah, but you don't know anything about them or why they come into the story later, so don't worry about it.
Wait. That's kind of strange. Why would you name your kids
One, two,
after
three.
numbers? Yeah.
Because their dad is fucked up, and you'll find out why later. They also have a 0 and a 4.
So are we talking his dad is like a junkie or like
Sort
what?
of. We'll get to it. It's a whole arc. Involves them. They come back, but it's like it's the weirdest spoiler for 20 years into the future put into a filler episode ever. And like some people had already, I think, at that point brought up how it's kind of weird that his name is Sanji because like again,
Did you just
San is
call him?
3. And people were like, what if there's a 1 and a 2? And then Usopp does this cute canny thing like Ichiji, Niji, Sanji. And Sanji just doesn't react to it, which I find very funny. But again, I'm sure no one except maybe Oda knew that these names were going to be tied to someone later. In fact, we don't know this, but maybe this was written by like the animation staff. And Oda went, "Oh shit, those are good. I'm gonna use those later." Like we have no idea, like if the hen went before the cart on this one. Um, like for all we know, whoever wrote this line gave Oda the idea. It was like, oh my god, I named him Sanji. I could give his siblings like one name and two name, and it'd be hilarious. And I'm like, oh fuck. But yeah,
Right,
like
imagine it.
I literally popped out of my seat because I remembered Usopp did this at some point. Like I knew that there was like this crazy deep sleeper spoiler, but I didn't remember when. So just
Imagine if they. Imagine if you just ended up naming them all, and it got to Juji. I was like, okay, this is getting old now.
no. They start at 0 and go to 4. That's about it.
No, they don't continue past 4. It's so sad.
Well, that's because there's no more kids.
Oh,
So then we get to the actual chefs. One of them is fucking named E. coli. Like one of the fucking
wait,
generic filler
what?
chefs. Yeah, like what? Like they show their names. One of them is literally like E. coli. That's his name.
I don't remember this man being called E.
Yeah,
coli.
he's like one of the first ones introduced, and he wins. He wins the first round. I'm like, wait, what?
Wait. E. coli wins the first round. Probably by poisoning their
I
opponent
was
because
I was
E. coli.
really fucking staggered by that. And then I literally just to run my note: Kamen versus Sanji, more shit, more flashbacks. Sanji wins. Nami, this is
Yeah, it's
where
like
Nami finally senses that the storm is coming.
E. coli's special ingredient is E. coli.
And then the wind. So this is super important to the story, in my opinion, because again, there's
Oh,
in the next few episodes we're gonna hit one of the huge major parts of speculation, for One Piece that isn't
Win
confirmed yet.
2009.
So the wind blows Luffy's straw hat all the way to the execution stand. Um, and Luffy's like, "Ah, I'm here finally." And then we cut away to see the woman, the mystery woman who's been with Buggy, but they just flat out spoil its Alvida by having her carry her club. Like, this is the first time I've actually shown her with
I
her
didn't
club.
actually notice that. I didn't actually notice. Like, I knew it was Alida in the back of my mind
Well,
because
that's
for
because you
some
looked
reason
it
if
up.
I look at something, I can't forget it.
It's because you spoiled it.
But like, I didn't notice it with the club, and then when it was like telling Luffy it's Alvida, it's like, oh, the club makes sense now.
Yeah,
You
no,
okay?
sorry. My head just
Oh,
fucking spaced out. And that's basically the end of the episode almost, but we do see a mysterious. No, that's the next episode. I turned the page already. That's it. We see Alvida with the club. Did you have any comments on this filler other than you apparently like Carmen, which is weird, but whatever?
my mind went blank. You just said a whole bunch of words and I
I
couldn't
did. I
process
did them
any of
really
it except
fast
Carmen.
too, like a fucking monster.
What did you say again?
Do you have any comments on this episode other than the fact that you like Carmen?
Okay, I don't like Carmen like that. Okay, I just think she's interesting
That's what I mean by
for
like.
this
What do you mean?
episode
I'm
in
not saying you're
particular.
horny for her. I'm just saying you like her as a character in the episode.
And I
You don't
refuse to turn out
like
like
her. You just like her.
that.
What the fuck? Why did you go there like that? I mean, you can like what? I'm so confused. Why?
I don't know. Sanji's getting into my head. Anyway, I do find it really weird with one of Carmen's servants. This man literally has a massive nose. It looks like he has no eyeballs. But he has tiny eyes on top of his massive
Yeah,
nostrils. I'm just gonna say he has no eyeballs because I can basically not see them anyway.
true. All right, that's you know what? Fuck it. That filler episode's over. Fuck it. It's gone.
Yeah, we're done with that
We are
now.
gonna get to episode 52, which I will officially say is the first episode in One Piece that has one of my top 5 moments of all time. We have finally,
Oh boy.
52 episodes in, we have hit one of the first moments that I categorize as like one of my absolute top 5 moments in One Piece, and we'll get to it.
Wait, before we get into the episode,
Yeah.
did you see it? Did you see the One Piece's reel trending on Twitter?
No, I don't. I listen. Anything on Twitter that isn't
No.
directly my feed, I don't interact with.
It is a shame Noriko isn't here because we could have talked about that.
Sorry,
That's something
like
else.
people start talking about like circles and rooms and shit on Twitter. I'm like, I have no idea what any of you are talking about. I don't look at anything on this hell site.
Yeah, it's like, ugh. That whole
I
One
hit
Piece of
send
reel
tweet
thing
or I
was
hit like on a friend's tweet, and that's it. That's all I do.
wow.
And I'll occasionally
Yeah,
retweet some smut if it's really good.
yeah,
Or post my own
yeah. That
smut.
was
And
that
all
was
my
a
own
whole
smut is pretty
thing.
good for the most part.
Yeah,
But
it's
I've
there's certain not safe for work edits of this guy called Whitebeard yelling, "The One Piece is real."
that's a good moment.
Yeah.
That's another moment in my top 5 moments of all of One Piece, which we'll get to. That might be like number 2 or 3. Like that's way up there. This one is probably number
Oh boy,
5.
you shouldn't
This
use the
is probably like
hashtag then.
this is probably like the lowest number of my these are the best moments. Um, so excuse me. Let's dive right in. Luffy gets to the top of the execution platform. And Buggy and crew begin skulking into position. Alvida shows up and refers to Luffy as the first man who ever hit her, which gets the crowd fucking furious, and Luffy really confused. He's like,
So
I've
charmed
never
by
hit
her
I've never hit a
smooth
woman. I never hit
body.
you. Stop it. Um,
You're all charmed by the smoothness of her body, of course.
and a whole mob forms around Alvida, which I find very funny. Um,
It's basically a million Sanjis.
Well, like so this is a running gag in One Piece that beautiful women just do this to crowds of any age or gender. Like we will see this hit old women, dogs, little girls. There are some
What?
women in One
What?
Piece
What?
who just make everyone around them like into a super masochistic horny dog. And Oda really likes it, and I don't know why. All those women who cause that effect are slim with long black hair. He's got a type and he believes everyone in the universe is into that type. Let's let Oda do his
Who
thing.
are?
Let's let Oda do his thing. Um so
I mean,
she
I mean,
go ahead, go ahead.
more. That's not the only beautiful type out there. Let me just say that.
No, but Oda does know how to draw him real good, and I'll take that. Though
Oh yeah, for
Though he
sure.
really fucks up their hourglass shape. Like he makes them like horrific. Actually, fun fact. When I was out the other day, we were talking about this before stream, everyone, or before the recording session.
Hey, what?
When I went to the retro gaming store, I went to like
Oh,
5 card shops and I found a used figure store, and I bought some cheap like $9 One Piece figures that were like normally like $40.
no.
No, they were like normally like they're like $40 or $50 figures, but they were used. So the store's like immediately like, it's missing like one thing, or like, it's been opened, so here $9. And they're super cool. I won't show them to you, but I think I posted a picture of them on my Twitter. I won't actively show them to you because they're characters you haven't been introduced to yet. Um, but they're super cool, and one of them is a very tall, long, black-haired lady who's very hot because Oda's got a type.
Right, right,
So
right, right. I need to know.
I think I posted them to Twitter. I don't know if I posted pictures of them out of the
Uh,
box.
you
Um,
posted a picture of some dude. I don't know who that is. Some dude with a golden hook hand and a massive
no, so
fur coat.
that is my favorite. Oh fuck, that is my favorite villain in One Piece, and we'll get to him real
Okay,
soon.
okay. Now we need some explaining to do. Why you have a Darky marker?
I don't have a doggy marker. What?
Why is it on Twitter? What is this?
It might just be something I retweeted.
It says that there is apparently a Darky
I
marker that
posted a
will
picture of
go.
the One Piece figures. It was 3 days ago.
I. Why do you want someone to buy you a Darky marker? Explain.
Oh,
Why do you need?
it's from the
Oh,
dating sim that the one that I've been looking for like over 10 years. I randomly found it of my favorite character from the dating sim, and I was just like, "What? I what?
also, no, you didn't post the One Piece figures.
I did.
Let's scroll
I'm looking at it.
all
I'm
the way
looking at it in
down.
my media fucking thing right now.
Which one? Where?
It's the start of the thread, maybe. No, it's the middle one in the thread. There's one
Which
that has a bunch of.
thread?
There's a ones that I will just send it to the link to you for fuck's sake.
Oh, I scrolled way past
You
it.
did. It was like
I
immediately.
found
It was like right at the top. There are
it.
3 One Piece figures that I got, and I bought some retro video games.
Nami. So what we got? Wait, we got Nami. Just because I see the hat, Trafalgar Law, and some random lady.
That random lady is also a Straw Hat, but we won't
Oh,
be
never
introduced
mind.
to her
It's
for a
Nico.
while.
Never mind. It's Nico Robin.
Yes, it is Nico Robin. It's her. So there. So
Sort
that
of.
I want to look into
It
that.
doesn't really add a lot in the box.
I want to look into that series more because it seems to be characters in One Piece wearing custom outfits as if they were wearing a different character's
Oh,
style.
they're like Bun Presto.
Yeah, so that one is her wearing a character named Leo, who we'll meet again like around episode like 850. Um, that is the sort of gear he wears, and that's Robin wearing his outfit, and that's just like a neat concept to me. Like I just love the idea of that. Like that law, because it was missing one of the 2 head options in that figure, it was like
Hmm.
literally $9.
Down.
Yeah, like all three of these figures were still like $20 cheaper than the one you saw with the sand. Like the that guy, he was still like $20 more expensive than all three of those figures combined. They were super cheap. I want to go back to that store when I get paid. But to continue, we get the Alvida revealed that that's Alvida, and Luffy's like, "Are you sure? Because you certainly don't fucking look like her." And we discover that she ate the smooth fruit. And she believes that it hasn't changed her appearance at all, but it got rid of her freckles. Because again,
Damn.
In Alvida's mind, she was always incredibly thin and beautiful and everyone fawned over her. But
So
now
from the
Oda made her thin, so now it gets to actually happen. Which, is fucked up and very Japanese. Because the Japanese believe if you're slightly overweight, no one will love you. Um,
rem,
which is a whole can of worms I'm not getting into right now, because I don't want to be here for 3 hours.
and you also don't want to risk you getting cancelled, and then I'm just gonna dip
I'm not.
out of
I
here.
don't think I'm gonna get canceled by calling out Japan on their racist, fatphobic bullshit. I live
Oh
here. I
no,
can
not
say all
that.
I want. God damn it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fucking, it's
I mean,
brutal.
well,
I
as
have
long
to listen
as
to so many women around me who are like not unhealthily thin, but are thin at talking about going on diets. And I'm like, I am five of you. You're perfectly healthy. Don't starve yourself for no reason because you weigh 2 kilo more than you think you should. Like 2 kilo doesn't matter. I'll shit 2 kilo out in half an hour. Give me a minute. I'll lose 2 kilo. Let me go to the bathroom. Like 2 kilo is nothing.
for
Stop
why
starving yourself.
why what?
It's insane what these
How did
women
we
will do
get
to
here?
themselves to lose like 2 kilo.
How did we get here from the smooth fruit over
Because
to I'm
Japan
just gonna go to
hates
the
fat
bathroom real
people,
quick
but
and
they
take
don't.
a dump?
Because Japan hates fat people, but they don't know what fat people are. It's a weird thing. So they just assume anyone that who isn't dying is fat. It's fucked up.
Huh.
Um,
What? I'm confused already.
yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. So Buggy shows up. Buggy says something lewd. Apparently, I don't know what. But I wrote down phrasing and then
Wait,
Buggy,
what?
which is like an Archer joke that they say whenever someone says something that's like a double entendre. But I didn't write down what he said that was lewd. I just wrote down phrasing Buggy, which means Buggy probably said something inappropriate, and I don't know what it was. Um,
Mhm.
so Buggy jumps on Luffy, pins him to the execution stand, and gets him like in a headlock with like a latch. Kabaji jumps up. Um, or Kabaji does that. He jumps Luffy and does that, and Buggy shows up. I don't know. It's a whole
Okay,
thing.
this is one thing that was annoying me, right? When Buggy was up on the execution chamber about to execute Luffy, he took 5 years to swing that sword. This man
But Buggy does
could.
everything flashily. He's doing it for a show. He's getting off on it. This is how this man
I
masturbates. Just let him do his thing. Don't kink shame him.
I get it, but if he would have done it quicker, it would have just been
Listen,
over.
you can't approach literally any TV show and go, if you just pulled the trigger, this would be over. That's not how shows work. Guess what? Arlong would have totally killed Zoro if he chose to. He could have. He had plenty of time to. He just kept
Yeah, but
fucking around.
he thinks he's so strong though.
Yeah,
He's
that's
got a
how it
lot
all
of
works.
bravado.
So Nami knows that the storm isn't normal, which leads more into the thing I'll talk about in the next episode and a bunch of fan theories. Smoker is there being awesome. And he's just like, hey, these fucking pirates are just gonna kill each other. And once they do that, we'll move in. Which is great. We see that Nami's pretty smart. She knows that their ship is in danger, and they need to get to her fast, especially if the Marines are moving, because they just fucking park their shit in the harbor. Um, and I do love that Smoker is watching Luffy about to be executed, and he's confused. And there was just like these few lines that I love where Smoker is confused about his senses. Like he picked up that Luffy isn't like other pirates, but the the feeling he gets from Luffy isn't matching the image he's getting from Luffy, which is very much Luffy's like brand, and I love it. Um, then we get possibly one of the best lines in TV ever, which is where Luffy goes, "This is my first time seeing an execution." I fucking die. uh, at which
That's the
point,
death pun.
where Buggy goes, "It's your execution," and Luffy goes, "Wait, I don't want to die. Let me go. I'm sorry." It's so good. Just thinking about it, I have to just facepalm and just like bask in the glory of Luffy going, "This is my first time seeing an execution," as if he's not about to die. Um, I love a moment where Nami explains to Usopp, because we cut back to them, that the Mary is in danger. That's why she's trying to get back to the ship. And we see Usopp, like, again, if it's for Mary or, like, if it's for their ship, Usopp is just like, all right, fucking, we're sprinting. Hurry up, Nami. And, he, like, while carrying this massive tuna, which probably weighs a shit ton, by the way. I don't know if you know how much tuna weigh, but they ain't light. Um, he just starts booking it, which I find very funny. Um, Mochi's at the ship trying to light a fire, but again, the rain's starting, the wind's very high, he can't get the match lit. We see that his lion Richie is kind of hungry, and he's like, "Oh, quiet, Richie, I'll feed you later." As he's trying to burn the ship, I don't know why I gave him that voice. It's kind of how he carries himself. So Usopp shows up, but he hasn't had time for his eggs to go rotten, because Usopp usually does the rotten egg shot, where he hits someone with a rotten egg. So he has to shoot a fresh egg at Richie, which of course the lion's just like, "Oh, he gave me food. Fuck you, Mochi. I'm hungry," and he just goes over and starts eating the egg. Um,
Yummy food.
yeah. And then the Marines show up and they start shooting, and that gets Mochi distracted enough for Nami and Usopp to get on the boat and take off. However, we cut back to the execution, and this is possibly the fifth best moment in all of One Piece, in my opinion. That number, that top five might get fucked around a little bit. You know what? I'm gonna open a notepad right here and just write down Junior's top 5 moments. Asterisk 5 is optional. And I'm gonna write down one moment here. Luffy in the execution stand. I'm gonna save this, and we're gonna see how many moments I add to this, and see when it goes past 5. um, but this is an amazing moment. Luffy's on the stand. Buggy's there with a knife. Luffy's pinned. Zoro and Sanji show up, and Toshigi's there. She gives a throwaway line about Zoro. Again, I hate her fucking looking like Kuina shit so much that I just want to blank her out of my mind whenever she's around Zoro. But whenever she isn't around Zoro, I'm totally fine with her. Um, and Sanji is there, and they start like attacking their way through the goons, and they're trying to get in as fast as possible. But it's clear that even though they can easily overpower like 3 of Buggy's men at a time, there is a whole fucking crew of people between them. Um, and Buggy looks down at Luffy and says, "Any last words, Straw Hat?" And Luffy, while pinned to the execution stand where Roger died, with a knife above his neck, yells at the top of his lungs, "I'll be king of the pirates. I am the man who will be king of the pirates." And it's just like, it's the ultimate pissing into the face of God. It's so good. It's just pissing into the wind and coming out dry. It's fantastic. Um and literally, like, you see a bunch of reactions of people like, "Really? Here of all places this fucking lunatic would say that?" Um
I have a
so
feeling.
it's so good. It's not the best
Sorry, I
moment.
have a
The
feeling.
best moment's coming up. Sorry, go ahead.
I have a feeling when Luffy yelled that in that specific spot in Town when he was like, "I'm going to be the king of the pirates," that almost summoned the guy that's coming up later with the tornadoes. I feel.
Well, we'll talk more about him next episode. There are some theories about him. We won't go into too much details because we don't know who that character is at this point, and I don't want to spoil it in great detail. So Sanji and Zoro show up, and they're trying to cut through the guys. They're calling out to Luffy, Buggy pulls the blade back, and Luffy realizes that he's fucked. He got careless, he got carried away, he let his guard down, and he's gonna die for it. And his friends
And then
can't
just
save him. This is the first moment on my list. He calls out the name of the 4 members of his crew. I don't remember the order, but I think it's like Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Zoro. And
and then he smiles, and then he's like, "Well, guess I'm gonna
before
die
he
here."
smiles, he says, Wari, Shinda. And it's so good. And Buggy reels back and swings the sword down as he says it. And he just says, I'm sorry, guys. I'm dead. And he smiles. And it cuts to Smoker's face. And Smoker's like, oh, he smiled. My fetish.
Why is
And
he
then
smiling?
he smiled. My kink. Um, and then
What?
just listen. I am a huge Smoker Luffy shipper, and it will bleed into this podcast. Um,
I'm not getting into any ships. I'm just not. I'm not. Ship stuff is toxic. I'm not doing that.
well, it's not toxic if you like every ship, but I love this ship the most, so it's fine. Um, so we get a close up of the knife as it's about to hit Luffy's neck, and there's a spark of electricity. And then, like an act of God, a lightning bolt strikes the execution tower, frying Buggy. And as we'll remember, Luffy is made of rubber, which in anime means he's immune to electricity. So the whole tower fucking collapses to the ground. We see the straw hat gently fall down in the rain, and then we see a hand pick it up, and we hear Luffy laugh and go, ha 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 ha. Ah,
I feel
that
like
was
that would have
close.
been way more impactful if they left a few seconds and then Luffy picked it up, because then it makes you think, "Oh my god, is he dead?" That would
Uh,
have been so much cooler.
I don't think so because we don't need death fake outs for Luffy because he's never gonna die until at least the end of the series. Um,
Wait, what?
well, I mean, we have no idea how it's gonna end, but like Luffy
Ima-
does a
ima-
lot of
imagine, imagine Luffy at the end of One Piece. He just leaves behind the legacy that Gold Roger did, and
that is a common fan theory that it
he
might
ends
end
up
with something
dying
like
the
that.
same way as Gold Roger did.
Well, we learn a lot about how Gold Roger dies, and that's probably not gonna happen, but at least not exactly. But then we get my second favorite line of this episode, which is where Sanji looks at Zoro and just straight up says, "Do you believe in God?" And I love the delivery of that line, and I love Zoro's reaction of just going, "We don't have time for this stupid shit right now." Um, so they all take off running,
Couldn't
and Smoker
believe in God. Join the Church of the Christian One Piece pirates.
Smoker finds out that the attempt to sink the ships have failed, and that the crews are going back with fresh powder protected from the rain. And he's just like, and he looks at the wind of the oncoming storm, and he's like, they'll have a perfect wind to get to the Grand Line. It's like fucking nature itself wants this man to escape. And he's just like, fuck, ah. It's great. He gets a flashback to Roger, and we find out that Roger, when he died, also smiled. And we have a moment where he talks to one of the Marine, and he's like, have you ever seen a pirate smile on the execution stand? And the Marine says, no, no matter who it is, no matter how strong it is, no matter how high their bounty was, at the moment before their death, every pirate feels remorse, dread, or terror. And there's just that moment of fear before they die. And Smoker's like,
Right.
yeah, well, fucking Roger didn't have that, and that kid fucking smiled just like him. Because remember, Luffy and Smoker are like extremely similar in that they're both Roger otaku, basically. They're
Oh
both
yeah,
they're both Gold
Michael,
Roger otaku. Like they both absolutely love the fuck out of Gold Roger for different reasons.
because Smoker was a kid and he was like, "Oh my god, he's getting executed," and he's smiling about it. Oh my god, I'm going crazy.
It's just it's very funny to see that they have very similar personalities. They have very similar interests, but they're on opposite sides, and it's very funny. And again, all of heaven seems to be um, co-opting to get Luffy to the Grand Line. And then we see a mysterious man with a tattoo. speaking into the wind, walking towards the camera, and that's where the episode ends.
Wind Boy.
So yes, so possibly. We'll talk about him in the next episode where he has a bigger.
Possibly.
Well, again,
I'm gonna
I'm gonna
call
be
him.
dancing around spoilers that are pretty heavy, and I don't want to
All
ruin
I'm
them for you.
gonna call. I'm just gonna call him from now on. Even if his name is revealed, I'm just gonna call him Tornado Man.
I mean, his name was revealed in the episode.
Was it? I didn't
Yeah,
even realize.
Smoker calls him by his name, like directly. We just, we as a viewer at this point don't have any knowledge of the name. Like, Smoker calls him by his name, but we as the audience don't know that that name means anything to us. Um, so episode 53 begins with a bit of a recap. We get the mysterious man in the storm. The buggy alliance is kind of doing okay fighting against the Marines until Smoker shows up. Um, they get hit with a net that seems to work on devil fruit users. Get ready for that shit to never go out of style. And we'll find out a lot more about that later. I just wrote down goddamn freaks. I believe that is referring to the buggy mobile and the smoker bike. Because they fucking just keep trying to use their body as a power source to move weird vehicles. Because Oda has a very specific fetish. And this is the first instance I think of like the nettings and trappings that the Marines use against devil fruit users. And I just wrote down more weird devil fruit transportation abilities. The storm protects the ship while Usopp distracts Richie. I guess that happens this episode. I talked about it last episode. My bad. So Toshigi gets in the way of Zoro. Uh, Zoro tells Sanji and Luffy he'll take care of it. Sanji's like, if you fucking hurt this woman, I'll kill you. Which you know, as you do. Zoro just fucking like easily overpowers her. Like it's not even a fight. And honestly, at no point do we ever see Toshigi and Zoro on an even ground. She always seems much weaker than he does, which kind of sucks. But she's just not on his level, and like I don't know, it's kind of shitty. She plays the woman card, which pisses Zoro off. Um, and like, cause like again, he goes to not kill her, and she starts, saying, "You're not killing me because I'm a woman. Is that it?" And he's like, "Fucking no, I'm not killing you because you look like my friend, and I'm a fucking pirate. I get to choose what I do, you bitch." And then he leaves. Um, and then Smokey shows up, and it's great. And Luffy is, oh my god, Luffy is so classed by Smoker at this point in the story. Um, and I must have been feeling extra randy because I just wrote down in my notes, God, I want him to say my name like he does Luffy's. Uh, oh, that's very loud.
Hmm?
The crunching back. It's kind of overpowering me on the levels on the mic there. So Smokey shows up, and it's like, hey, you didn't beat me, remember? You don't get to leave until you beat me. And Luffy's just like, all right, I forgot that's a rule. Sure, all right. And Sanji's like, do we have time for this? And Luffy's like, you just go on ahead, I'll do it. Nami and Usopp are forced to set sail, um, in order to protect the ship. Usopp starts doing some actual sniping, to cover for Sanji as he's taking on a bunch of Marines. And he fucking jumps into the water because Nami's pulling too far away for his slingshot. So he dives into the water and starts treading water while sniping people on the shore with a slingshot into a fight where he could hit his friend. Like, I might not love Usopp at this point in the story, but the boys got mad props for this. Like this is showing him being a badass. I love it. Um so we cut back to Luffy versus Smoker, which goes a bit as well as you think it would, because Smoker is just crushing Luffy. Because Smoker is made of smoke, and Luffy can't fucking fight smoke, cause he's an idiot. Luffy gets pinned down to the ground, and we see Smoker get him into a position where he's about to pull the weapon off of his back. Um, I don't think it's revealed at this point in the story, but his weapon is made of the same material as the net. or the very tip of it is. So Smoker uses this weapon so that when he hits people with the tip of it, or he can pin them with the tip, if they have a devil fruit, it saps all their strength. I don't think it gets brought up here, but it is that, and we find out that later. I swear we should know that at this point, but I didn't write it down, so I don't know. However, a mysterious hand grabs his before he can pull it out, and the figure is there. He's like, "Hey now, who are we to stop a man starting his adventure?" Uh, and Smoker's like, "You!" And then there's just a fucking green wind. The animation goes super fucking freaky, and everyone gets blasted everywhere. The buggy crew gets freed from the Marines. Luffy gets blasted off into the distance. Um, and he gets freed by the winds of freedom. Luffy becomes the one that got away. He gets to the shore, the coast, where everyone is gathered. They see Nami taking off in the distance. Luffy does the Luffy thing and grabs them all in a Gum Gum rocket and shoots them off to the ship, which is great. It's a very Luffy moment. Um, and then we cut back to Smoker. Um, Again, Luffy's the one that got away, the one who's going to get into the Grand Line, the one who bested him because of this interference, which pissed Smoker off. And he's there with
Yeah,
this man.
see what? Sorry,
No, go ahead.
what I thought about that was like, although Luffy didn't best him in physical combat, he outsmarted him, meaning he still wins.
He didn't outsmart him though. He outlucked him. This guy, Luffy doesn't even know who this dude is, and this dude showed up and just helped him. And we'll find out why very much later. But here's an interesting thing. Smoker begins giving orders to give chase to Luffy, and they're like, "That's out of your jurisdiction." He's like, "Don't tell me what to do. Go get shit ready. I outrank you, you fucking piece of shit." Which is very much Smoker's brand. And again, the mysterious man is still just there, and he talks to him like the government is hunting for you, like they have a bounty on your head, and then he calls him by his name, which is Dragon. Um,
Oh right, Dragon. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that. Why is he called Dragon?
that's his name. That's just his actual name, as far as we know.
His name is just Dragon.
Yeah,
There's no meaning behind it.
no, it's just his name. It's not like a title or like a weird anything. That's just his name. His dad called him
Wow.
Dragon.
Um, I am inclined to make a joke here.
uh,
Dragon decent across the ground.
so Dragon says some more philosophical shit about the nature of man, which is super dumb. But again, here's the thing: we know at this point that this man is wanted by the government, but Smoker isn't fighting him, which is important because we've seen Smoker go tits to the wall against anyone who might even sort of earn a bounty someday, let alone someone who is wanted by the government. Um, but Smoker's just focusing on trying to get to Luffy, which should imply that this dragon figure is super strong. We cut to Buggy, who is also going to chase Luffy into the Grand Line. And then we get a classic One Piece moment, which will be referenced a lot in the future in flashbacks, which is the launching ceremony where all four members of the Straw Hats and Luffy put their feet up on a barrel and declare their intent to the Grand Line. This scene is a bit better in the manga, where there isn't like a 4 episode filler arc or a 5 episode filler arc after it, and they just like, as far as I know, they just keep sailing towards the Grand Line. Um, though there's some confusion in my head about that, which we'll get to in the next episode. Um, but this is a classic moment. Zoro's "I want to be the greatest swordsman in the world," Sanji's "I want to find the all blue," Nami's "I want to make a map of the world," Usopp's "I want to be a brave warrior of the sea," as they all put their legs on these barrels, and Luffy "I want to be king of the pirates." This is a thing that will come back in flashbacks ad nauseum. This is the defining moment where these 5 people become the Straw Hat Pirates. They are the original generation. They're the original crew. From here on out, we will pick up new crew members, but these 5, this moment, is like the origin of the crew as it actually is. which is super cool. It's a really good moment. Um, and that's basically the episode, which is fantastic. It's not as good as the last moment or the last episode, in my opinion, but that last episode again has like one of my top 5 moments of all time when Luffy's about to die, and he apologizes and smiles. It just every time I see that, my whole body just shivers. I can't handle it. It's so good.
Oh
Um,
yeah. When I was watching the episodes today, I forgot how ear splitting that peak A in Believe in Wonderland in the opening is. That's
it's
so like peaking so high it hurts my ears.
yeah. I'm not a huge fan of Believe in Wonderland. It definitely doesn't make like my top 10 list.
Like it's a good song, right? But that peaking is just so loud.
So, peeking aside, to talk about a little bit of the fan theories. So, you already seem to be on the page which most of the fan theories are. So,
Hey,
it's
what?
it's a lot more ambiguous if the storm is natural. Like the wind
Oh
that
no,
blows Luffy away, the lightning that strikes the tower. In the anime, you seem to feel just by watching that it seems to be this dragon guy doing that.
I thought the storm thing was natural. I just thought the green wind is from Dragon.
Okay, okay. So the green wind. See, no one knows. See, in the manga, and I know this just because I own this manga and I've read it many, many times, but there is a moment where the wind blast is happening, and there is a literal dialogue page, like pop up, like a bubble, that says wind blast. Like, and I don't know if that's someone yelling for cover or if it's Dragon yelling an attack name. Like, it's something that's always been a thing. And there is this long standing sort of debate in the community because we don't know enough about Dragon. But I think the general consensus that people think of in this speculation is that Dragon does have some sort of devil fruit that lets him manipulate the weather. Um, it's sort of believed that it was him manipulating the wind that moved the hat to get Luffy back to the stand, because that's where Luffy wanted to go. It was him that called down the lightning that saved Luffy's life, and it was him that summoned the wind blast that blew Luffy away from Smoker to give him that chance to escape. Um, Now, we don't know for sure that that's what any of those events were. Any of them. Oda hasn't said jack shit. And we never actually see him do anything to summon the wind. We see him stop Smoker and then the wind happens. However, we do know that Nami was acting like the storm wasn't natural, like it was way too big, it was coming on way too quick. The pressures were changing unnaturally. But again, we have no confirmation of this, but the running theory is that Dragon seems to have some sort of weather controlling devil fruit. Um, but that is just a theory, a One Piece
Wait,
theory.
it's not been revealed.
No, no,
Really?
we still
After
know
800, sorry, after 1,000 episodes later, it's still not been revealed.
you will not see Dragon again in person for like 900 episodes,
Oh Jesus.
and he will not get referenced again for about 320. There might be flashbacks to this moment, but remember, this is an important thing. Luffy never saw him. Luffy's face was
Hmm.
pinned to the ground and the storm was happening. Luffy couldn't even hear the conversation. He thought someone was there, but he has no idea about that. And none of the crew were there either. It was just Smoker, Dragon, and Luffy couldn't see or hear Dragon. So the only people who know Dragon was there, other than those random Marines, is Smoker and us, the audience. And we don't know we don't know who this fucking character is, right? The only person in this fucking scenario who knows who Dragon is fucking Smoker, and he ain't telling us shit. Um, we'll find out more about him later, and then we'll find out a little bit more about him later, and then we'll finally see him again. But he has up until episode like 1050 or 60, wherever the fuck we are, 1100, he has not been like a major part of any arc in person.
Let me check what episode we're on.
Yeah, I don't know. I stopped watching around a little bit before we started the podcast. So I'm like months behind at this point.
Okay, so we're on episode 1032, which is coming out in about 2 days.
I stopped around episode 1007, so I'm like 30 episodes behind or something, or 1005. I know I saw the thousand episode special, and if I watched that, I probably watched the next 3 or 4 episodes. Um, episode
Wait, it's
1000,
already full season? Oh my god.
episode 1000 hits different. It's real good. Let's move to the next 4 episodes or the next 2 episodes. We should be able to get through them pretty quick because they're filler. Um, but they're good
Hmm.
filler. It's pretty good. Episode 54 comes up. We recap their oaths, which again is a great moment. We get a little. We again. I just wrote down. We get a very small filler arc, but it's a good one. Um, we see the girl. We get introduced to this little girl. Um, on a ship. And by the way, this whole opening fucking sequence is like super callbacks to uh Laputa. Castle in the Sky for you non-Japanese people, because that movie in Japan is called just Laputa, but I think in the rest of the world it's called Castle in the Sky. It's very
I've heard
Studio
of that
Ghibli.
one.
A little girl on a marine like ship, on a ship being held by mysterious men. It's literally the opening of Castle in the Sky, which I find very funny. I don't know which one came first, but I believe Castle in the Sky came before this episode of One Piece. Um, so if that is what Oda was referencing, I totally got it. Um, I really like it. So we see her. She's on a marine ship. She clearly doesn't want to be there, but the Marines are also not trying to hurt her. However, she ends up fucking sinking the ship. She's fucking ride or die. She ends up like flipping a whole fucking warship. Which is great. And then we learn a word. We learn from one of these vet Navy Commodores something called Dragonite, which is gonna be the MacGuffin for this filler arc.
Dragonite, that's a cool Generation 1 Pokemon.
It's also I think it's also the name of the item that lets Dragonite become Mega in the later gens. I think its
That's.
item is just called
Wait,
Dragonite,
no,
isn't it?
wait. Dragonite. Wait, Dragonite doesn't have a Mega, does he?
Yeah, he's a Mega evolution.
Wait, Dragonite? I didn't think Dragonite had a Mega.
I'm pretty sure I have an item called Dragonite that lets him become a Mega. I never used him because I
That's
just one
too
shot everything
silly,
with
right?
Garchomp. I just used
Eh, but
Garchomp.
it's also a material in One Piece or something that can give, like,
Eternal life.
immortality. Yes, immortality.
So we get introduced to a character named Eric, who's just the sleazeball villain for this arc. Um,
Common
so
sleazeball
so
villain.
common sleazeball villain. He actually ends up in a canon episode. More than fucking Carmen does. This guy shows up again after the filler arc.
Rip.
He shows up in a canon moment in a huge way. Um, which we'll get to around episode 60, which is the end of this filler arc and like the start of the Grand Line. Um, the gang finds Epis. We don't know her name yet. I'm just telling you her name. The little girl's name is Epis. Luffy shoots at his arm to pick up what they find off in the ocean. She sends Zoro flying. The animation on that I found very funny, even though it was quite bad. We get some good Usopp and Zoro shtick while they're just playing around, which I like. She realizes that they're not bad people and that they're gonna take care of her. So she tries to cook. It's not very good. Um, Eats up a lot of screen time though. We find out that she wants to go to a place called Warship Island. I believe Ura like actually just uses the name of the actual Warship Island. Like I think he just calls it the same thing. For people who might not know, there is a place I believe called Warship Island off of Japan. I think
I've
that
heard
has
of
the
it,
same
but
name. Um, and we get some more interacting with the Navy. We find out she's on the run from them for some reason. She wants to get back to Warship Island, and we find out a little bit about the comm belt. Because there's a moment where Apis is talking and everyone's having a moment, and Zoro's just looking at shit. And I love this because I love when Zoro just gets to be attentive. And we see Zoro looking around, and Nami notices Zoro. which is, a big shipping moment because everyone fucking loves shipping Zora and Nami, and I mean, I also love fucking shipping Zora and Nami, so it's fine.
I think the only shipping that I genuinely support is Naoto and Kanji, but that's not even One Piece.
There are a ton of One Piece ships. Most are just, people gonna like what they like. I think Oda's flat out said that like none of the crew will ever have any sort of actual romantic involvement, at least not with another member of the crew, because that's just not the story Oda wants to tell. But he'll make people really horny. He just will never let them do anything about it. Um, so which leave more power to him. So Nami asks Zoro like, "Hey, you've been quiet and just looking around. Like, what's up?" And he's like, We are not moving, right? Like, you notice the boat hasn't moved in a while. Like, we're on a boat. I'm used to boats moving, and the boat isn't moving. Which boats should normally move. They bob on the waves. They move with the tide. If you're not paying attention to what's going on, the wind will just carry a boat. But there's no wind. And Nami realizes they're in the calm belt. And that's the end of that episode. Real fast. Um,
Oh wow, we're already at the calm belt. Jesus Christ, that flew by.
yeah. I mean that nothing happens in a lot of stuff happens in that episode, but none of it is super important and can all be summed up in a line each. It just takes a lot of time in animation to go through each of the moments. Same with episode
Mhm.
55, honestly. Like, both of these episodes are like half a page in my notes. We can eat through the next one super fast. I think
Damn.
I think it took us like 3 minutes to do that episode. Like, there's just nothing to it, which is fine.
Right.
I don't need an hour and a half long recap of a filler episode. I'm glad it took 4 minutes.
Yeah, wow.
So episode 55. So this is something that confuses my brain, cause like a part of me thinks this scene in the calm belt is canon, but it can't be the way it happens in the animation because Apis is in it, and I know she's a filler character. So we find out that they're in the calm belt, and we learn a little bit more about the calm belt, which is basically that it is an ocean that circles the Grand Line and separates all the other oceans. It is a band of ocean where there are no ocean currents, there's no wind, which isn't how wind works, or ocean currents for that matter. I basically just read that the calm belt is bullshit. It's basically magic. We get an interesting spoiler into something that we haven't even found out in this episode. We find out next episode, I think. Um, but Apis sort of reacts to something she can't see, which is a teaser for something that'll happen later. And then we find out that the calm belt, beyond being a place where ships go to die because they can't move unless you row them, it is
Rip.
the nest for the Sea Kings, which in some early translations of One Piece were called Neptunians. So in my head, I can't not think of them as Neptunians, which is so fucking dumb. But I read so much One Piece when I was young, and it was all translated as Neptunians. That whenever I think of Sea King, like the image gets there, but in my head, I'm like, oh, you mean the Neptunians? I have to go through that step in my brain. So we get this beautifully iconic scene of these massive Neptunians rising into the ocean, and the going merry-go on the nose of one of these monsters. And see, this is the thing. I think this scene is canon. Like, in my head, it feels like it is. But I'm not sure, and I haven't gone back to the manga to double check. Um, Luffy at least understands the danger of all this. Um, even if this scene isn't canon, it does get flashback to a fair bit. Um, Apis seems to know about devil fruit. She sees Luffy stretch and realizes that he is a devil fruit because she falls off the ship and he catches her. She realizes a way they might be able to get off. She has Luffy swing her around to the front of the Sea King and she pulls out one of its nose hairs. I don't think fish have nose hairs, but whatever, Oda. Um, and so the Sea King sneezes and launches the Going Merry back to the regular ocean, which is very funny. Um, they sail their way to Warship Island like it's nothing. Some of the Marines spot them though and recognize that it's a pirate ship and report back. Um, it's of course a pirate ship approaching the island. So all the villagers run out with like pitchforks and spoons and shovels and shit. And I'm like, Jesus, Usopp could take this island if he wanted to. You people fucking suck. um, however,
The legendary dragon.
I literally wrote these idiots think they're people. Like, lol, that is my notes for the villagers showing up and trying to stop the pirates with their fucking pitchforks and farming tools.
Oh my
Um,
god.
Apis lets them know that these people are nice. A kind old man shows up. I get sad because whenever I see an old man in anime, I get sad. Apis runs to him. Um, and Luffy's just like asking for a yakiniku restaurant, which my Japanese has been getting a lot better. And just hearing Luffy say shit, I might ask, like, "Hey, is there a yakiniku
Like,
restaurant
do
near
you
you?"
have a,
In
like, do you have a
Japanese,
barbecue now?
I found very funny. And yakiniku is like the one restaurant I go out to eat in Japan. I try to not go out too often because it's expensive, but fuck, it's good. So Navy spots them, which is great. Um, Jesus, what did I write
Maybe
down?
Portsmouth, which is great. That's the whole of it. What about Grandpa Ryu?
We're getting to him. We're getting to him.
Fun
So
stealing.
the old man, Luffy and them go up. The old man says, there's no yakiniku, but I make the best like steamed pork buns ever. And Luffy's like, fuck yeah, I'm in. We never see a pig on this island. I don't know where the fuck they're getting this pork, but whatever. Um, however, the old man says they'll take 4 to 5 hours. Um, we see him setting up the buns. I just wrote down goddamn buns, Huns. Um, so he starts telling them the history of the island and the legend of the Millennial Dragons or the Millennium Dragons, which sounds like a fucking item from fucking Yu-Gi-Oh. Ah, he is the Millennium Dragon. Um, because Luffy has or fucking Luffy, Yugi has the Millennium Puzzle, doesn't he? That's his whole shtick. Was that he solved that Rubik's cube and got possessed by an old man. So we find out a bit of the history and the lore.
I'm out of it right now.
That's fine. I was just
My
talking about
mind is
Yu-Gi-Oh.
drifting off somewhere else.
So we're
All right.
almost done. He begins talking about Dragonite bones and the Millennium Dragons. Uh, Apis scoots off. She's not very bright. She steals all the buns. Luffy eventually leaves and goes to check on the food and falls asleep because he's
And,
Luffy.
and then
Uh,
so does Nami. The
yeah,
story's boring as
yeah.
hell.
Nami also goes to check on Luffy. Thinks he's eaten
Like
the
the
buns.
1000th emperor, 3000 emperors.
Thinks he ate himself unconscious eating all the steam buns because there was still one on him. He eats the one bun and is like, "That's very good. Where are the rest?" And she hits him. However, Apis isn't too bright and is just dragging this massive bag of buns with her wherever she goes. Um, so this is a really rare moment that happens, and I love it. It's Nami and Luffy teaming up solo. It's just the two of them, no one else. We almost never fucking see this in One Piece, and God was I living for it while it was happening. Just watching them like stalk after her together and like get over obstacles together. Luffy fucking instead of rocketing Nami across like he would normally do with Zoro, fucking spreading himself across an opening so she could walk over his back instead of just grabbing her by the waist and fucking shooting himself across. I don't know. I just loved it. It was just great Nami and Luffy interactions for like a solid 3 or 4 minutes. And I was like, God, I wish this happened every arc for just 3 or 4 minutes. It's so good. I love these two. And I do. They're great. That's another ship of mine. I don't ship it too hard, but it's great.
Mm.
Um, they find Apis in a cave. She's talking to someone. Nami's like, we should stealth in and find out what's going on. So Luffy just asks her nice and loud, because that's what Luffy's idea of stealth is. And we find out that there's a fucking dragon in this cave. There's just a fucking dragon. They're real. The dragons are real. The Dragonite, the dragons, they're all real. This massive fucking Ghibli-esque dragon. is just hanging out, and Apis is just feeding him steam buns and talking to him. Um,
Sometimes I stretch and just see my head bobbing like
yeah, no, you're
crazily.
like
What?
you were looking like you were getting electrocuted. It was very funny to me, but
I'm all over the place.
I had to keep going with the line. S- so we find out that this ancient dragon um has lost his flock, and he's trying to find the island. I forget the name of it. It's like Lost Island or something. Um, but he can't remember where it is because he's too old, and he's trying to find it. And of course, Luffy wants to just help the old guy out. So Luffy likes Apis at this point. Um, because I mean, who doesn't? I like Apis. She's an idiot. I love idiots. Um,
Sorry, I'm just busy being an idiot and electrocuting myself.
so Apis, Luffy declares that they're gonna help the Millennial Dragon, old man Ryuji or whatever she calls him, Grandpa Ryuji,
There is
find the
Ryu.
island.
Like it's clever actually because it's like Ryu because it's dragon
Yeah,
Ryu.
yeah, which is very on the nose and very Oda. Um, which I like honestly. I did write down. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure he doesn't say it, but I did write down that he used the Gum Gum No suspension bridge. You know what? Now that I've said that out loud, I think he
Yeah,
does
yeah.
say that when he does it.
It's like gum no suspension bridge.
That's fucking
Mouth.
hilarious to me. And then we get this really cute moment where Luffy like tells the old man Ryuji he's gonna help him, and the dragon just fucking like bites him on the head, and Apis is like, he's a little senile. So the episode
Yucky.
ends with the gang agreeing to help a senile dragon find a place that it can't remember where it is.
Yum. I love eating
Rubber? I mean,
pipe.
it'd just be like chewing gum, right? Human flavored
How
gum.
it, how it feels to chew five gum. Ryu eating Luffy.
I think
Stimulate your
I think
senses.
that would be a good gif, a good meme if I could make that. That'd be pretty fucking funny. You know what? You ever want to do numbers with the One Piece Twitter? You gif that up and fucking post that. We might get a lot of hits for the podcast. Do a little advertising.
That'd be
I'm
funny.
shit. I can't do it.
Hilarious.
Let's get Rudy's
I
editor
can't.
on that. I need to learn that
I can't.
editor's name so I can thank them for making the highlight
I
reel.
can't make gifs. All I can make is terrible memes.
I mean, this is a terrible meme, but it's a great terrible meme, and that's all that matters.
I
Um,
can't do gifs though, so it don't have the full effect.
I think you just take the video to like Giphy and select the moment you want.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we're literally using OBS, which lets us just record shit.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
pretty sure we
you
can do
are.
it. Well,
I'm just
true.
here and I just get
I
coordinated.
am the one doing all the legwork. That's right. In my room, in my little room. But no, that's the episode. I believe next recording session we will officially not make it into the Grand Line, but we will leave the East Blue.
That was so underwhelming. That we were officially waiting for Grand Line,
so
not
so I
make it to the
think
Grand Line.
I will see. I don't want to jinx it and be wrong. I don't remember if episode 60 starts with them entering the Grand Line or if episode 60 ends with them about to enter the Grand Line. I don't remember,
Hmm.
and I don't want to promise anything. So we get about 3 more episodes of this filler, plus the final episode of them going into the Grand Line, or we get 4 episodes of this filler and the 5th episode of them about to hit the Grand Line. But we are almost there. We are about to move into the next big saga, which is great. The East Blue saga will officially end in the next few episodes. Um, in the next recording session, we will
See,
officially be
I
about to
thought
dive into the Grand Line.
the East Blue ended after that whole thing with Smoker and
It
stuff, because
technically
that's when the first season ended when I was watching it on Funimation.
seasons on One Piece weren't really a thing. It just keeps going. Like different places
Uh,
just say this is a season, but honestly, I don't find that very accurate. Technically, you could say it ends with Rogue Town, but like I don't consider like the East Blue saga over. till we're
Because
out
then
of
it's
the East
like
Blue.
also right. Because then it's also like, take for example, Crunchyroll as well, right? They have like the numbered entries. They say like, oh, East Blue episodes 1 to 63 or
Yeah, that
whatever.
that's
Wait, 68,
probably
63.
that's probably more accurate than you. The arcs of One Piece do not tie to seasons, especially not 1-to-1. Anyways,
It's like,
but that is this episode of the Mite No podcast. I have been Junior, just a lich on the internet who really likes pirates. This has been Ruty. Say goodbye, Ruty.
oh, it's 1 to 61 even.
That sounds even more accurate. I think 61
1
is when
to
we're
61. Okay, that's officially when East Blue ends. That's where I'm gonna categorize East Blue as ended after episode
I believe
61.
61 is the actual factual moment we enter the Grand Line. So that makes sense that it would be the end of the East Blue. Um,
Okay. And then, ooh, Alabasta is next.
that's right. We're about to enter into the Alabasta Saga, which has several arcs. um, it will take a while. I don't believe we finish Alabasta until like after episode like 120. We got a long way to go and a long time to get there. So for now, that's goodbye from me, Junior and Rudy. We're gonna end this recording in a very Rick and Morty way, I
Goodbye.
guess. Now, just
Goodbye,
yeah,
and check out our other social medias if they're linked wherever. I don't know.
yeah. I try to do that.
Yeah,
I don't know if Noriko does, but I do go and grab both your Twitters and put them into the descriptions. I don't do my own because I don't
yeah.
self advertise really because I'm an
No,
idiot. Uh,
check out all of us. Check out Junior. Check
Go
out
check out
me.
Rudy
Ruby.
for that sweet
Check out
gif
Noriko.
of how to chew five or how it feels to chew five gum, which is gonna blow One Piece Twitter just a whole new asshole. All
And
right, goodbye
I'm
everybody.
not making the how it feels to chew 5 gum meme. I'm
Goodbye.
not